Advaita Gadada Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Taiko
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol,
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Nitaiko Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Nitaiko Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada,
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Nitaiko Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitaiko Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Hari Bol. Namo Om Vaishnavadaya Krishna Vistaya.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajakacharya Stota Satya Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki,
Jai,
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki,
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki,
Jai.
Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha, Shivasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki,
Jai,
Shri Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund, Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki,
Jai,
Vrindavan Dham Ki,
Jai,
Mayapur Dham Ki,
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Dham Ki,
Jai,
Tulasi Maharani Ki,
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Ki,
Jai,
Ganga Mai Ki,
Jai,
Jamuna Maiki.
Jai.
40 years since opening Krishna Balaram Mandir Ki.
Jai.
40 years since opening Krishna Balaram Mandir Ki.
Jai.
40 years since opening Krishna Balaram Ki.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnu Vishnu Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Kachani Nevi Sesa Sanyabadi Jadesh Satarni. Hare Krishna. After the feast, I'm sitting down.
I think most people are lying down right now.
Most people are not even sitting down, so this is an improvement, I think, on some are lying down, yes. So, this is our last official session for the memoirs of what's called Senior Devotee, speaking about Srila Prabhupada and also the opening and the years involving the opening of Krishna Balaram Mandir. So today, this afternoon, we have some of the Matajis, and it was very interesting asking them for biographic information because they didn't tell me very much because they're the humility. But over on the right-hand side, Mahamaya Devi, and I've known her a very, very long time, actually. I remember in the road show, in the early days of the road show, somehow or other, we traveled together separately, and she was part of the original group within the road show that was started at that time, actually, by Kirtanananda Swami, and we had 4 buses, Radha Damodar, and very, very wonderful time. I even remember stopping along the way to pick up a flute for Damodar, and of course there were no flutes. We wound up going to it was kind of a, what would they call a home shop now, like Bed Bath & Beyond type shop, and his first flute was actually a curtain rod. Kirtanananda really put that, utility is the principle into effect. Since there were no flutes, we got what was a gold-colored curtain rod that was made into a flute-like instrument. So anyway, that's one of my memories from way back then, and they were also the first Radha Krishna deities I was able to worship. So she goes back way early to 1971, joining in Boston, and she's in the years before, she assisted Pancharatna Prabhu in assembling what was really the first base. We call this the disciple database. So she's always helped put that together and maintain that, and she's a composer, and she's written books about her time with Srila Prabhupada as well. So she's done so many wonderful things, and of course she's a Mayapur Basi, and very eager, you'll hear when you hear her speak. She's very wonderful. Moksha Lakshmi, she first met the devotees in London in 1969, way back in the Beatle days, and off and on she was there, took initiation right here in Vrindavan in 1975, and she told me to say, she's the wife, of course, of Parshuram. If any of you know him, you know he's quite an amazing devotee who he does Rath Yatras all over countries in Europe and Northern Europe, and he has a wonderful center in the center of London area where he's been distributing, a very grassroots kind of devotee who does so many things. And what she said, piles of adventure. That's what her life has been with Parshuram. So she's going to be unloading some of those piles here this afternoon. And then right here is Rimati Devi, who she didn't tell me anything except came along 1976. No.
That's Vrindavan.
Vrindavan. She came to Vrindavan in 1976. But she can tell you more about her life. But also we know, if you know of Mayapur and you know of the elephants in Mayapur, And the cows in Mayapur, besides having wonderful children, she's devoted her life to taking care of the elephants for many, many years. And as she's very austere and has done very wonderful service and continues to do so. We have Smar Hari Prabhu. I saw him somewhere around.
He's over there waving his hand.
He's back there. You're going to have to come and sit here, please. And I can't tell you his very early days. Of course, we have a wonderful history together. And he was here, of course, in Vrindavan for many, many years, and he's been instrumental. He also was one of the first managers of MVT when it was opening up. And he was very instrumental also with the Samadhi and Srila Prabhupada's departure at that time as well. And he continues to do a very wonderful service, and he's been in charge of greeting all of us older folks, Prabhupada disciples. One of the Mataji said to me today in the restaurant, she said, what happened to ladies first? Well, before ladies first, we have the caned people first and wheelchairs first. Then comes the older ladies and the older men, so it moves in that way. So when we get to our geriatric stage of life, men or women, here's one of them now passing by. So all of these need to be taken care of. How we know that? The women, the children, the Brahmins, and the old folks. So we're all headed to that area. And I'll stop at this point and maybe say something a little later on, but who would like to start this very auspicious moksha?
After you,
I wrote a few notes to try and remind me. But first I wanted to thank everyone involved in organizing this festival, because it's just been the most amazing festival, one of the best weeks of my life. It's been like one lung Vyasa Puja, you know, on a Vyasa Puja you glorify Prabhupada. And this has been like a week-long Vyasa Puja with a little bit of sleep here and there if we were lucky. And it's really a big thank you to everyone who made this possible. So I was a Bombay devotee in 1975, and that was before the temple was built. And Giriraj Maharaj brought most of us here to Vrindavan for the opening of the temple, and we were all on a bogie. We had our own bogie, you know, a whole train carriage to ourselves, and we all arrived, and it was very, very exciting. I'd never been to the Dham before, although I had passed through Mathura when I took the train from Delhi to Bombay. So I'd seen Mathura, but I'd never been to Mathura or Vrindavan. So it was this really exciting prospect. And of course, Vrindavan never disappoints. We had a wonderful festival. The devotees all went in buses, and we went to see the holy sites of Vrindavan. I remember at Kushum Sharova, Kushum Sharova. The girls we were all on the side near the road, and the men were on the side near the monument. And we were all jumping off one of those big pillars. Wasn't it Kushum Sharova? I thought it was Kushum. And as we jumped off, we all shouted the name of Krishna. And it was really, you know, it was like we're running our names of Krishna, and I was towards the end. But it was such a wonderful thing, because we were all just thinking about Krishna. And on the Ram Navami morning, I'm not looking at my notes, but on the Ram Navami morning, I remember we were eating breakfast, and we were where the Radharaman Goswami's hotel is now. We were sitting in that big ashram there, very big ashram, lots of sand on the floor, bits of grass. And Prabhupada heard we were eating breakfast, and he said, "You don't fast for Ram Navami." He said, in other words, why aren't we fasting for Ram Navami? So we all felt a bit that we hadn't fasted. So we learnt something there. You have to fast for Ram Navami. Have a quick look. We were all staying, all the Indian devotees, because there was Calcutta devotees and some Mayapur devotees, and we all stayed in one big room at Fogel Ashram. And I remember when the Indian the foreign to India, when the American and European devotees were leaving, I remember they were all giving us their shampoo and their ear cleaners and whatever it is that there was, because we really had an austere life here in India. I'll go into it a bit more in a minute. But it was very austere in those days, just for the record. Okay. Now, the second festival, I went back to Bombay after the festival because I had service there, and I don't like to leave things half done. You know, I've been 26 years in the same service in England. So I went back to Bombay, and the next festival, which was 1976, I didn't get to go. I had to stay behind and help care for the deities. I did a lot of the backup, you know, the ironing hankies and sewing and cleaning and sorting jewelry. So I didn't get to go. And so Giriraj Maharaj gave me I always thought it was second class, maybe it was third class ticket to Vrindavan to come and stay here for a few weeks. And I travelled alone, which was a bit scary on those Indian trains, and second class, and I didn't have a return ticket. He told me to get the money from Vrindavan, which I thought was a bit cheap. But what happened was, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who was the All India GBC, he knew that prior to my devotee life, I'd worked with children. And there were a lot of young children here. So he asked me to start a preschool to look after everyone's children so the mothers could do service. And it was very interesting because we weren't allowed to go shopping. I think several people have mentioned that we weren't allowed to go shopping because Prabhupada thought we'd be all ripped off, which of course we would have been. So I wanted to see what was available for children in the bazaar, but there was absolutely no way they would let me go to the bazaar. In fact, I'd been here months and months before I ever got to that bazaar, and then Vishalini took me when I finally got. I never saw Loy Bazaar till, about 6 months after I'd been in Vrindavan. There was no shopping in those days, I can tell you. If we had 3 saris, we were lucky. So the brahmachari went shopping for the nursery. And what he came back with, have you ever seen those clay oranges and bananas and eggplants? So he came back with a bag of mitti, like clay, but not even clay. It was like water and sand mixed together, pieces of fruit. And that was supposed to be a play school. So, it was like, what? So I thought, well, we're going to have this, child-led. We're not going to have any toys. I was expecting paper and crayons and blocks. And I got a bag of clay apples and bananas. It was absolutely useless. So I thought, so what we used to do, because it was hot. By now, don't forget, I'd come after the festival, and you know how hot. So add on another few weeks. You can imagine how hot it was. So what I used to do was I had a guest house room, and in the guest house there's all these holes that go down, and in theory you can throw water and clean the floor and the water would go down the hole. I was like on the 3rd floor. So what I used to do was I used to throw buckets of water, and the water didn't go down the hole because it didn't work, and the kids used to strip down to their underclothes, and we used to zoom up and down the room on the water on their tummies. I think I invented the water slide. And that's what we did. And we'd go on. We couldn't really go out so much because I was alone with them and safety. And although there were no monkeys then, and the heat, but somehow I managed to run this play school with absolutely nothing. A lot of kids I don't know how I did it. But anyway, we did it. So eventually, the children, they slowly left. There was Hare Krishna Das, Himavati's son. Stoka Krishna was here with his children, Upendra. Haya, who was the temple president, had a couple of kids. But eventually they all left. So that was kind of the end of my service. Although, of course, I was doing other things. We used to do the 24-hour kirtan. I used to chant from 9 till 10 every night. And if I was lucky, if someone came and took over, otherwise, you were stuck there till late until someone came. I remember one friend of mine, she's in Alachua now. Her name's gone out my head. But she had like the 12 till 2 and no one ever showed up, and she was stuck there till Mangalatik every night. But anyway, it was very purifying. Satyasara, that's it. And so that was life in Vrindavan. But then I moved to Paria House. Now, Dhananjaya and Balagopala were the first people to move to Paria House. And Srila Prabhupada had said that in Vrindavan we should develop businesses for the deities so that we could support the temple, or at least help support the temple. And in Mayapur they would develop the handloom saris. I don't know if they still make them. And they would develop the devotee paraphernalia. So Dhananjaya established a Makut business. And Makut, it's Krishna's crown and his clothes. So I helped Dhananjaya with that. And I actually sat down with them. And mainly, a lot of them were Muslim workers, and learnt the whole art of, you have a table and one hand underneath, one hand on top, needles, and actually learnt the art of Makut, which is a very useful thing to know if you've got 6 months and don't do anything else to make an outfit, which I'd love to do at some point in my life. So that was, and Shakti Mati came as well. And it was a really wonderful thing to sew. But I was actually like helping Dhananjaya manage the Makut business, because that's what I did. And let me see if I got a few. Oh yeah. Now the strange thing about Taparia House, and it was a gentleman's residence of Bombay, Mr. Taparia. Actually, by fluke, my daughter met his nephew or something recently, and she fixed a visa for her. So it's funny how everything interlinked. But it was a gentleman's house, and there were 2 big rooms and then a smaller room in the main building. And one up the stairs, and then there were like smaller rooms down the sides. But the strangest part is there was no toilet. And it's funny to build a house without a toilet when you think about it. So we moved there. It was Ambika and I who moved there together after Dhananjaya and Balagopala. We were the next people to move there. And there was no toilet and no running water. So those are the austerities we did. And thank God, eventually we got the toilets. But we had a well. And there were 2 buckets for the well, and one was kind of a smallish bucket. But every so often, someone would change it for this huge, great big. It wasn't a real bucket. I can't hear, sir. Yeah, Bali, you should come and share this. You really should. But anyway, so every so often, someone would change this nice bucket, this big, for this huge thing about this big, with a wooden thing over, like a big ghee or oil container with a wooden thing across. And when that was down the well full of water, I didn't have the strength to pull it up. So it's like couldn't even get hold of any water. And there were no bathrooms either, by the way. Well, there was like an empty room that we could use as a bathroom, but the problem with the empty room that we could use for the bathroom was you were never sure whether it would be full of snakes or not, or to speak of scorpions. Because in the 3rd room of the main building, it had like a cellar, and there were scorpions in there, so I never wanted to stay in that room. I know Tejas's wife, Madira, had that room for a while. That was a scary room. So, but the wonderful thing is, it was Vrindavan. And although there was no bathrooms, no running water, all those things, it was the most beautiful house. It had a big archway on the driveway up, the walkway up, with a creeper called tinder. It was a sabji that grew. And there was a mango tree, and there was a night queen tree, and there was a lemon tree. It was just an amazing place. It was so wonderful to live there. And every morning you'd wake up, and at 4 o'clock, the Sitaram temple over there, which I think did you mention that, Dhananjaya, didn't you? That would turn their microphones on at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you'd hear this beautiful, sweet melody. Jai Sitaram, Jai Jai Sitaram, Jai Jai Sitaram, Jai Sitaram. And so that was our life at Taparia House. And we had a lot of things happen there, though. One time, Vishalini, who lived there with her children, she comes running out of her house, screaming, "Sham, sham, snake, snake!" And there was a cobra in her room. And we called the Baba from it wasn't even a house, it was some kind of a hut on the side of the Parakram Marg, because Taparia House actually bordered the Parakram Marg, and he was living just on the side there. And he came and he said he knew the mantras, who knows? Vishalini thinks it was just a business where he put the snakes in and then we paid him to take them out. Who knows? And he came out actually holding the snake here if this is the head, he was holding the head of the snake like that. So, of course, Vishalini had to pay him something. But it was still, and then there were the bish cobras. Now, I'm not sure what they're called, beasts as in 20 or bish as in poison. But bish cobras, and they're like giant lizards or small crocodiles, whichever way you look, about this long, and they used to live in an empty ashram near the, well, I don't know what they're called in English. Oh, Kishori, I didn't see you. Kishori's got some, I didn't see you, Kishori, Haribol. And you'd see those, and they were kind of scary, this huge, great big lizard thing. And one time I remember the lizard was trying to get over the wall and I was trying to get past the wall, and it was, but it was still Vrindavan and it was still wonderful. And that, actually Kishori bought the first cow. Remember when you bought that cow? The cow with the baby. But the baby was big, so the mother wasn't giving much milk anymore. And the gopa, yeah. And the gopa would come with a bunch of other cows, and it was the custom that the gopa, would come and pick up all the different cows, and he'd take them down to Raman Reti for them to pasture. So it was just idyllic. Living there in one sense was idyllic. I really, really loved it there. But one interesting story, Prabhupada did come once. Prabhupada came with Hare and a bunch of other devotees. And we were sick at the time. At the time we thought it was malaria. There was myself, Vishvadevi, Mahini Shakti, and possibly Goloka, what was that? Goloka? I can't remember her name. Goloka Vasani, yeah. And we were all in the middle room on 4 beds. And next thing we know, Prabhupada's walking up the driveway, and we haven't been to Mangalatik. It's at Prabhupada's time for his morning walk, and we haven't been to Mangalatik, and they're still there all, because we had fevers. So I thought, and Prabhupada walked in and just gave us a look. So I thought, well, I better say something. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, we have malaria, which we didn't. We had some kind of, having had malaria later, I realized it wasn't malaria, but at the time we thought we had malaria, but it was just one of those change of season fevers that you get. And Prabhupada, he didn't say a word, but he didn't look happy, he just looked. So it was like, So that was when Prabhupada went to Taparia House and he had to look round. There were a lot of devotees with him, I remember, and I remember Hare being there. So that was the time Prabhupada went to, because then it wasn't a Goshala then. And it was beautiful. It was not, it wasn't a bit run down. It was like beautiful, almost pristine building, you could say. So, I don't know what to say now. Okay, so I'm going to finish because I'm taking too much time. Yeah, you can tell when you got here. One thing I remember about Hrimati when she came to live there, she brought this big German cooker thing, plugged it in, and that was the end of our electricity because we had very delicate electricity. In fact, my first summer, it was my first summer in Vrindavan was spent without electricity. I didn't have a fan, but even if I'd have had one, there was no electricity. It was always off. So anyway, those are some it's more like the social history of Vrindavan rather than, Prabhupada memories. But all my Prabhupada memories are in Daivi Shakti's book. Please buy Daivi Shakti's book. I know it's just going to be fantastic. Can't wait to read it. So I'm going to pass over because I'm hugging the microphone.
Hare Krishna. I don't remember that it was me with the cooker. Okay, I remember having a sewing machine, but not a German sewing machine. Anyways, we are supposed to mainly talk about Vrindavan. So earlier we heard a lot. We heard a lot about the buses that came to India to do Sankirtan. So my husband, Atmavidya Das, he was the one in charge of those buses. They went twice. First time, I think they took 2 buses, as far as I remember, and it took them 2 weeks. They went in the winter time from Germany all the way to eventually to Mayapur. Then the second time, it took a long time. So we were in Germany. I'm from Germany. I joined in 1972. And so the GBC over there was Hansaduta Prabhu. And his wife, Himavati, she was taking care of us. We were all very young girls, just a few of us. Surabi, she will remember. So when Hansaduta was called to India by Prabhupada because there was a suggestion that he will take sannyas. So some letter came, and I remember Himavati getting this letter, and Chakravarti was there and looking at it and everything, and she was pretty shocked. So, because at that time he hadn't taken sannyas yet, so she immediately wanted to come to India and to convince Prabhupada not to let her husband take sannyas. They were like a team in Germany, so they were like mother and father to us. They took care of us very, very nicely. So my husband was the book publisher. He was helping all the layouts for all the German books. So when Hansaduta went to India, so he engaged my husband in getting these buses and also some Mercedes vans. So then when Hansaduta was already in India, and I believe he had taken sannyas, so Jayatirtha, there was between Jayatirtha Prabhu, excuse me, and Bhagavan, that who's going to take over Germany, and then later on Harikesh Maharaj came. So Jayatirtha, so our husbands had all left. And so then Jayatirtha said, I don't know what to do with you. You have to go join your husbands. So there was Surabi and Mana, who was Havidana's wife. And she was 4 months pregnant. Then there was Manada, who had a 2-month-old baby. And myself, I had a 1.5-year-old son, Raghunath, and I was 7 months pregnant. So Jayatirtha said, no, you have to go. And this was in April. And so Mukunda in England, he arranged for our tickets. So we went to England first and spent the night at Bury Place. Bury Place was quite an adventure. So then he, carried our suitcases, and because we couldn't carry, I was, 7 months pregnant, and he arranged even for a certificate that I could go on the plane, because when you're pregnant, you're not allowed to fly. So we went on Syrian Arab Airlines, stopping over in somewhere in the Middle East. So it was quite an austere thing to do in the middle of the Indian summer. We had, of course, no idea. We weren't prepared. And but we were arranging for Himavati to pick us up. So Himavati, she came to the Delhi airport, and we were pretty tired because, we had gone from Germany to England, and this whole, adventure, and then coming to Delhi. And we were very, very tired already. And when I think the plane landed something like noontime on 29th of April, 1976. So the doors opened. Those days, you didn't have the ramp and everything. You just walk straight off the plane. So the doors opened, and it was this hot air coming inside, and it was like, whoa, I never experienced anything like it, And so Himavati was there, and she was shaved up. She was wearing white sari, and she had her head shaved. She used to have beautiful long hair and big braid. And there she was with the Sika, and she said, yeah, this is what Prabhupada told me to do. And she said, so you have landed in India, and did you bring any money? And we said, well, I got $20, and she got $100, and she got $20. So we came practically with nothing. And we had no clue what we were going to do in Vrindavan. And because the previous time our husbands, they took the buses, it took 2 weeks to drive from Germany, and this time it ended up taking 2 months, a lot longer than we expected. So we were there without our husbands. So we drove, and the car broke down. I remember I was so hot in the afternoon in the middle of the summer, one of the hottest days of the year. And 7 months pregnant with my son was sitting, on my lap, and this ambassador, and this car breaks down, and we had to wait for the whole thing to be fixed. And then we went on, and I was like almost unconscious by the time we reached near, the Dham. And so the driver, he said, Vrindavan Dham. And I looked out of the window, and there was these ladies walking with beautiful colored saris and water pots on their heads, sometimes 2 or 3 on the heads, and they're fetching water somewhere. And some goats and cows walking by, and I was crying. I was crying because we only knew Krishna book. From the book, we only knew Vrindavan from Srila Prabhupada's book, and it was exactly how he explained it to us, how he wrote in the Krishna book, how Vrindavan was. So I was in tears when I arrived in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Mandir, and I walked off the ambassador, and I collapsed. So I was lying there. I think I was unconscious, I don't know. So Himavati took very nice care of me, and we got some rooms in the guest house. And so then the summer went by, and Janmashtami was approaching, and Vishalini and Balagopala, they told me where to go to have the baby in Loy Bazaar. One Mataji was there, she had delivered their babies, so we went there. And and I went to have a checkup, and she said, "Oh, Janmastami, you'll have your baby." And she wasn't quite right, because I just started labor in the middle of the night and midnight when all the conch shell blew. That was my first contraction. So, and we went by rickshaw. We had to look for a rickshaw. Those days there was no rickshaws. And Himavati took me to the, in the morning, she took me with Hari Krishna Das, little boy she had with her, foster child from Germany. And the midwife said, "Oh, this is not yet time, come back at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, bacha hey, you have your baby at 5 o'clock. So she, so we went all the way back to the guest house. She also told me, she said, eat some halwa, puri, sabji, and it was fasting day. So we went to Hare, and we said, the midwife said I have to eat. So he gave us all the maha, and I ate nicely, and so then about 3 o'clock or 3:30, we were gonna go back, and it started raining, and severely. It was, it was on Nandotsava, so it was at a time, it was in the rainy season, monsoon season. So it was so raining, and the driver said, "No, I cannot go." And she said, "No, she's in labor and she has to have a baby." And so so the whole road filled up with water, and we had to, those days was 1 rupee to go to the Loy Bazaar with the rickshaw. And we ended up paying 4 rupees by bribing the guy to go ahead and drive. So anyways, so we got there just in time, 10 minutes before she was born, my daughter, and which was on Vyas Puja day. So I'm telling this story because my service basically was always, I was always a mother. That is the duty of the ladies. They become mothers and they take care of the children. And Srila Prabhupada also called us by that name, Mataji and mother. So Srila Prabhupada came about, I think it was 9 days or 14 days later, after he was in Hyderabad to open the temple there, and he came eventually to Vrindavan, and no, 9 days later, sorry. And so then Bagaji, he was very a good friend of Srila Prabhupada. So he made a horoscope for the baby and all that. And so he said, "You have to go see Srila Prabhupada for darshan." And he, I said, I was so a little bit scared, because in the previous years when I saw Srila Prabhupada in Europe, it was always that I had some other stories that I'd like to tell, but I don't know if there's time. Anyways, so then it finally came that we were going into Srila Prabhupada's room, and I think it was in the evening or something, because he was drinking milk, hot milk. And there was, I think Pajumna was there, maybe. I don't know if Arundhati was there, I'm not sure. Were you there at those times? Hari Sori was there. And it was just a few people in the room, Himavati. And so we sat there, and then suddenly Himavati, she took my daughter. She had a little dress on, she was just 2 weeks old. And she took the baby and just threw the baby right on Prabhupada's lap. And she took her head and rubbed the head into Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. So that was really And Srila Prabhupada, lift up his hands and, oh, so small. So he started talking about children, and it was very sweet. And the whole time he was having her on his lap. And it was very private kind of meeting. So then Vishwambara said, oh, we want a name for the baby. She was born on your appearance day. So then Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he said, Nandini. I said, what? What does it mean? He said, oh, there was so much excitement around that day about Nanda Maharaj, and he had the son and everything. So, and it really, really struck me because Vishwambara, he was rubbing in that she was born on Srila Prabhupada's puja, on his appearance day. But Srila Prabhupada is so always conscious about Krishna, so that he gave her a name in relation to Krishna and, Nanda Maharaj. And because she was born on Nandotsav. So anyway, this is that was a really kind of beautiful pastime. And so I don't have a lot of, Sankirtan stories to tell, but it was about children. My son was about 1.5 years old, Raghunath, and I used to dress him up in the morning and put tilak on and fresh clothes, and he was very bright and looking really nicely. And he used to go, and Srila Prabhupada used to come out of his house, go around Parikrama, around the temple, and then he'd come in and for greeting of the deities. So first he would go around the temple. So my son, he was trying on all the shoes outside, the sannyas shoes, the karams, so then Srila Prabhupada came out, because he knew Prabhupada is going to come out and go on a walk. So Prabhupada came out, and my little boy, he goes, oh, Prabhupada, and all the devotees, the sannyasis, what's this little kid they doing there, So then my son, he was walking in front of Prabhupada, because he knew that he was going around. So he was kind of like, the little boy, he took the lead to go around the deities, around the temple. So he would point back, Prabhupada. He was so proud to be walking with Prabhupada. So at that point, one of the sannyasis, I don't know, should I mention the name? He was grabbing my son and said, get this kid out of here. Hare. He said, get this kid out of here. And then Srila Prabhupada goes, no. This boy can walk in front of me. This boy is a very nice boy. So they continued the morning walk, circumambulating the deities like that. And I thought Prabhupada was so, merciful. Like that. So yeah, we were also in Taporia house, and I don't know, am I supposed to talk about anything else besides Vrindavan? I have 2 more minutes. Okay, so 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes not yet over. But I tell one more story, one more little story, because Srila Prabhupada, of course, he was not pleased that all the grihastas were staying in the guest house. So he was not pleased with that all the kids and all running around. And so he was not very pleased about that. So he sent us to Taporia house. But one day, I was staying in one of the side rooms. So that I was putting my baby in the crib, and there was a black cobra about this long under the bed. And I went to the door, and I goes like this, sharp, and to the chokidar, and he said, oh, sharp? I'm not going. So that was my end of Taporia house, and we eventually went to Hyderabad at the farm. And I just wanted to tell how now I take care of animals and of cows, and I could see because I saw how Srila Prabhupada, how he was so eager to have a farm. When he was in a morning walk in Hyderabad, now my husband told me this, when he was in, people would pay their respects on the road to him, Swamiji, where are you going? And he would, lift up his head, I'm going to my farm. So I was there, and Srila Prabhupada was giving so many instructions about cultivation, about cow protection, and so on. There's many pastimes of that time in Hyderabad. However, only one little pastime I want to tell. One time we had also this bucket system drawing up water from the well. So the cows, they were mostly useless cows, and one cow was coming. They were coming back from the pasture to the Goshala, and one cow pushed herself through, and I was just pulling up the water when Prabhupada came and he was talking about how to pump the water up with a pump and to water the fields and everything. So he was there, some devotees were there discussing with Prabhupada. And so this cow came pushing herself through the crowds of devotees, and she went straight for the bucket to drink the water that I had just drawn up. And it was the bucket that had the string on it. So she drank the whole thing and then left. And then Srila Prabhupada looked at me, he said, now you have to wash the bucket with her stool. Because the mouth of the cow is considered unclean, and the stool is considered clean. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. My name is Mahamaya Devidasi, and when I joined the movement in 1971, I didn't have any desire to go to India. But when I heard about the first international Gorpranim festival in '74, I really wanted to go, but I didn't get to go. So by the time '75 rolled around, I was really ready. Or so I thought. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. That year, contrary to what I've heard other people say, we didn't have the full plane, but it was like most of the plane. I think it was 76 that was the entire plane. And we landed, the plane went from New York to London, picked up some more devotees, and then we landed in Bombay because Calcutta wasn't an international airport. And I remember in the airport in Bombay, there was fans like there is in this building, but they were moving really slowly. And it was like the way I imagined India to be, just like the slow-moving fan didn't really help the heat situation. And anyway, then we flew to Calcutta. Buses met us at the airport, and we drove to Mayapur. And even on the way to Mayapur, I was just falling in love with the lush countryside, seeing the ponds along the road, people washing their clothes and living from the pond. And it was just so natural and beautiful. And when we got to Mayapur, it wasn't like festivals today where everything is just taken care of and you just go and eat prasadam and you go on the parikrama. It wasn't like that. We had to do everything. And I remember the ladies were assigned to Miss Prabhupada's morning Bhagavatam class in order to cut up the fruit for breakfast. And we didn't even want to eat cut up fruit. We were all told, don't eat cut fruit. In India, you're going to get sick. But we had to cut it up anyway. Then the men assigned by temple had to do the 24-hour kirtan. So they were up in the middle of the night. So everybody had, some service, some austerity. And at least in Mayapur, we did a lot of service. 150 of us took the train down to Hyderabad, and you've heard a bit about Hyderabad Pandal program, and inaugurated some railway train station near the Hyderabad farm, and we did many different things. And then we went on to Vrindavan. What I remember is there was 400 devotees had come to the festival. Some people have said 1,000. I don't think so. Anyway, my main memory of Vrindavan Festival and the opening of the temple is something I haven't heard everybody's talk this week, but I didn't hear anybody say that. I remember Prabhupada saying, after the various VIPs spoke, and it was mostly, if not all, in Hindi, so we didn't understand a word of it, but Prabhupada kept on saying, do not be disappointed. Do not be disappointed. Do not be disappointed. And we're all sitting there like, whoa, I wonder what they've been saying. And we at least the conclusion I came to was they were not on board with us being real Vaishnavas, real Brahmanas, and so they were saying some negative things about us, but Prabhupada was encouraging us. He's saying, do not be disappointed. So that's one of my main memories of that festival. And I do remember going on parikrama every day in Vrindavan. We'd just go out for the day. And what I remember is Dina Bandhu took us around. Is that right, Prabhu? You didn't take us on the parikramas? The ladies. I thought it was, well, whoever took us out, we just took a little extra time and we kept on coming back late. And Prabhupada came to hear of this, and he was concerned, so he wanted us back on time. So the very next day, our bus broke down, and we were really late. I mean, we came back like it was dark. It was really late. But I also remember on these parikramas, we'd get to some place, and it would know that particular pond, if we bathe there, we're going to definitely be able to go back to Godhead. And we're all going, well, we want to bathe here. But the person leading the party says, we have no time. We have no time. What if we accidentally fall in? Okay, for 5 minutes, if you accidentally fall in, what can I do? So then we started pushing each other. And there's one place, this girl from South America who didn't speak any English, her glasses went flying off into the water. And it was really like, slimy, and, we couldn't find the glasses. And anyway, we stayed there until we could find our glasses. But we were all bathing just entirely dressed, and then we could hardly walk. But, we were just like eager to get that mercy, So, so after this festival, I really actually wanted to live in Mayapur, but I was just happy to be anywhere in India, and I got permission to stay in India. It's a long story. I kind of didn't. I was working with the BBT. I was composing Prabhupada's books. That is the summer that they did that huge marathon. I mean, they needed me, but I squirmed out of it. But before the marathon started, I actually did go back to America when my visa ran out and volunteered to help typeset. They didn't want me. I have a reputation for being independent and unsubmissive. Later, of course, the devotees who were composing saying, we would have loved to have your help. There was like 2 of us who were trained up to run this machine. And our temple president, who was Dhananjaya Prabhu, he says to me, okay, now to get your Bhagavad Gita, you go in the library and take one of the books. So every book had in huge letters, temple copy, number such and such, on the binding, on the pages. So this is the Bhagavad Gita, the new Bhagavad Gita that I paid for. And just to show you what happened with that Bhagavad Gita, later I was in Ahmedabad with Srila Prabhupada was wanting to read from a Bhagavad Gita. Nobody had one but me. I pulled out this book, that said Temple Copy number 3 or something on it. And I was just so, he never said anything though, but I was so embarrassed because it really looked like I stole it. So I was, one of my services was that I was in charge of the Pujari room, and the deities had 4 outfits. When they were installed, they had 4 day outfits and I believe 4 night outfits. Then they had a set of jewelry for each outfit. So we had these huge Pujari rooms and, 4 outfits. But, I put them away, put away the clothes, put away the jewelry every day. That was a service that I did. And I also was helping clean Prabhupada's rooms in the morning. So the most embarrassing thing happened, but I've shared this story before, and somehow devotees love to hear how embarrassed we are in front of Prabhupada. So what happened was that I was cleaning various brass articles, including the lotus from Prabhupada's bathroom. And every day, Prabhupada would go on his morning walk. He was very regulated, as we know. But this particular day, Prabhupada came back early. And I didn't know that. Or if I did know it, it didn't really register. So I'm just doing what I would do every day. When I would finish polishing, I would put this piece here and that piece there, and his bathroom loader would go in the bathroom. So I opened the door to the bathroom, and I walk in. I didn't knock. I just walked in. And there's Srila Prabhupada walking towards me with his dhoti kind of hiked up a little bit, and I just freaked. I just hit the floor so hard that load hit the floor, and I just left it right there, and I ran out. And then I was, oh my God, I've offended Prabhupada. Now, no matter what I do, he's going to kick me away. There's just no doubt in my mind. I've offended him. What am I going to do? And the women were staying in the guest house, and I ran up to my room, and I was thinking about something that Vishalini had told me. She was like my Indian guru. She kind of knew everything about Prabhupada. Anything she said, I believed her. Like, it was the absolute truth. And this is one thing she told me about Prabhupada. She said, Prabhupada likes 3 things. And I just confirmed it with her the other day. Hadn't seen her in 30-some years. She told me I remembered right. She said he liked 3 things. He liked you to smile at him, to give him money, and to read his books. So I thought, I'll give him some money. And that way, I'll offset this offense. So in my room, I wrote out some message. Don't know what I said, but begged his forgiveness. And I put a 10 rupee note. Now this was a lot of money for me. I mean, it was 7 rupees to $1. Now it's like 62 rupees to $1. So it wasn't really much, but it was what I put in the envelope. And then I ran downstairs, and Guru Puja was already going on. So I went in the side door by the Vyasasan, and everybody, I think, had already offered flowers. And I put the envelope somewhere near Prabhupada on the Vyasasan. And then I offered my flowers. And then I watched to make sure that his servant, I don't remember who it was at the time, but whoever it was, picked up the envelope. So then I didn't think that this was going to offset my offense. So I was lamenting, and one service I was able to do during that time was type for Srila Prabhupada. I had gone to Brahmananda, who was a Swami at the time, and asked for service typing for Prabhupada. And he would let me do that. He would actually dictate, he would get the letter from Prabhupada. I don't know what form he would write down what Prabhupada wanted, but he would make a tape, and then I would type up the tape word for word exactly what he said. So that regularly I'm going to Prabhupada's quarters, and I'm getting the tapes, and I'm giving him the typed letters. And so a couple of days later, I said to him, I offended Prabhupada, and I really don't know, if he's accepting my apology. And so he just said to me, well, did he say he was offended? And I'm thinking, well, I didn't even hang around long enough. That, when I ran out of the bathroom so fast. And he said, well, if he didn't say he was offended, he's probably wasn't. So eventually I just let it go and I'm still here, so I guess I didn't offend him too badly. Okay, one thing the ladies I was saying were staying in the guest house. There was a bunch of ladies in one room, and our window, we could see the veranda, the back veranda, where Prabhupada would go in the afternoon and evenings. And we were told repeatedly to not spy on Srila Prabhupada. That didn't stop us. Srila Prabhupada was too attractive, and our warning just wasn't doing it. So we'd turn off all the lights, though, so we thought he couldn't see us. And we would watch Prabhupada, and every move he made was just so beautiful. He was often meeting with Bhagaji, and we couldn't hear him, but we could see him. We would see, I think Upendra was his servant, and he would come in and out a lot. He wouldn't always pay his obeisances. But Navayogendra, who was a brahmachari at the time, Navayogendra Das brahmachari at the time, every single time he came in or out of the Prabhupada's presence, he would pay obeisances. I could see the difference in culture. It's just like so, but anyway, watching Prabhupada was so amazing. So I admit that I didn't follow the instructions not to watch. We had to watch. It's hard for me to read my notes here, but I'll just try to sum up that by my interactions with Brahmananda Swami, he was talking about how they were going to Ahmedabad next, and my ticket actually was to Bombay, and Ahmedabad is on the way to Bombay. So I was going to use my ticket just by him talking about going to Ahmedabad. He wanted me to go and help carry their typewriter. They had too much luggage. And anyway, to make a long story short, I went on the same airplane as Srila Prabhupada, and that was a whole amazing experience. And he had a tiffin full of prasadam, and during the flight, I believe it was Brahmananda who got the stewardess to bring back some prasadam to me, so I was like relishing Mahama prasadam, and I was trying to distribute whatever book I had on me to the people sitting next to me, but I wasn't able to distribute the book. Okay, there's one more thing I have to tell you. I was in Vrindavan, and then I had to go back to America to get a visa. Was there for 6 weeks, and when I came back to Vrindavan, it was on Janmashtami Day, and I had a picture of Little Radha and Krishna in New York, and I gave this to Srila Prabhupada when he came out of the temple. And Brahmananda was there, and he said, "Oh, this is Mahamaya. She just came back from New York." Prabhupada stopped in his tracks. He turns to me, and he said, "Did we close on the temple in New York?" So Prabhupada at that moment was waiting for news that the skyscraper building on 55th Street in Manhattan had been purchased. Now, I don't even know if I knew the meaning of that word closing in relation to real estate transactions. I mean, now I know, but back then, I don't, even if I knew, I just didn't know what the status was of that building. All I know is that I had an opportunity to go and see the building. Like a group of us went and got a tour of the building. But, that's all I could tell Prabhupada. Well, they have the key, and I got to see the building, but he wanted to know, and he kept on quizzing me, did we close on the property? And I couldn't tell him what I didn't know. So Prabhupada just gave up on my ignorance and walked on. And then Brahmananda hung back and just quizzed me more till he got clear that I only knew what I knew, and I didn't know the answer to his question. But, You know, so many years later, when I was writing my memories of Prabhupada, I thought, what an opportunity I missed. I could have been the one to tell Prabhupada, yes, they just purchased this, your new skyscraper, 12-story building in Manhattan. But I really didn't know, so that's kind of my relationship with Prabhupada, was embarrassing and tongue-tied and just disappointing in a lot of respects. But I just want to conclude that when from Ahmedabad, there's, I mean, so many things I could say about that pandal. And then later, I lived in Mayapur for years and saw Prabhupada mostly in Mayapur. But this is about Vrindavan. So I'm just going to conclude because people have been talking about what Prabhupada said about devotees having their own deities. So the one time I asked a coherent question was in Bombay. And my question was, well, I really wanted to ask in the first person, can I have my own deity? But I couldn't get it out like that. So I said, can devotees have their own deities? And Prabhupada's answer was no. It will distract from the temple deities. I take it to some extent, time and circumstance. I was a brahmacharini. And in Prabhupada's books, he makes it clear that householders should make their house into a temple. But still, the general principle should be that we focus on the temple deities. Like you said, we don't want to be, he doesn't want us distracted. So I thank you very much for letting me share my memories. And I also just want to say something to all the devotees who didn't meet Prabhupada personally. He really did mean that Vani, like following Prabhupada's instructions, is more important than his Vapu. Because we can have his Vani 24/7, and don't think that, oh, I missed out meeting Prabhupada personally. You have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and you're a follower of Srila Prabhupada. You're here because of Srila Prabhupada. So please, just develop that relationship. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We're in separation from Srila Prabhupada, and I just want to encourage everyone to really develop that relationship. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Little down? No, no, don't introduce. Like this? Okay? Okay. Hare Krishna. So what can I do? Ah, louder. Hare Bol? Oh. Hare Krishna. So first, I want to make a very big homage to Balagopala and Dhananjaya Prabhu with my heart, because the time is short. I could do for ever, eternally, because it's by their mercy that I am here. It was terrible. Dhananjaya got me as his first bhaktin. And Dhananjaya, when someone asks me, or many devotees ask me, how do you meet Srila Prabhupada? They think I met Srila Prabhupada directly. But I was not from that time. I think it was 71. So I always say, I am very happy the way I met Srila Prabhupada, because I met him in the heart of a devotee. And this is Dhananjaya Prabhu. He was such a nice preacher. He was young. and always at the door going for Harinam and always speaking of Srila Prabhupada. So it spread. It was very contagious. Very. So when actually I met Srila Prabhupada for the initiation in London, I already knew Srila Prabhupada because he gave me so much service to do for him, and he always speak about him. Balagopala, she came later. It was an arranged marriage. And Balagopala, I want to tell her a little story that maybe she doesn't know. So I was in a very hippie mood. So I was taking care of the altar. Balagopala, I think it was Panchatattva altar. Is she here? Oh, okay. Anyway, I wanted to tell her the story. So I will tell her later then. Okay. So when it's by the grace of Yamuna that I came to Vrindavan. She wrote me, she invited me to come because Surabhi, he had left for India, but he didn't know if he was going to be a devotee or like that. So she wrote to me, she said, Kishori, it would be very nice if you come to Vrindavan. Surabhi Saurabh is there. So I came to Vrindavan, and the first to Radha Damodar temple, because at that time between Radha Damodar temple and Ramanriti, it seems to be a long distance, and also if it was a little night, nobody would want to take us there, because they were afraid of dakus. I remember that. So I was sleeping there, and it was Palika, Yamuna, Mataili, and of course it was incredible because I was there where Srila Jiva Goswami was speaking to Srila Prabhupada when he was writing the Bhagavatam. I could not almost breathe. So sometimes I'm thinking, please Krishna, give me back these feelings of a young bhaktin. So I came to Ramanriti. So I met Ananda Baba. I was many stories with Ananda Baba, which every time I want to approach him, he was going, like this, mother, mother. And I was thinking, it's very strange, because he would not want women approach him. So I could not understand why he's going like this to me always. But finally, I persisted, and I find myself in the kitchen with him. And we did many nice things. And later, again, by the mercy of Yamuna, somehow, she left Vrindavan. And before leaving, she was saying, take good care of Srila Prabhupada, take good care of Srila Prabhupada. And later on, Srila Prabhupada, I could never imagine that I would be with Srila Prabhupada very closely, because I always feel myself not good enough, some trauma, something, for nothing. So, but somewhere I was hoping in my heart, something there, very strong. But I will not allow my mind. And one day Satswa Goswami Maharaj came to me and said, Kishori, Srila Prabhupada, remember that you make very nice samosa in London for him. It was a long time ago, and it was only like 3 times. And he said that you can take care of his quarters and cook for him. I was totally, it was magic. It was like a conte de fées, I don't know, a fairy tale, something like this. So I will tell you some stories now. So Balagopala was asking me to tell about the dresses. So I don't remember actually if Yamuna made a dress Dhananjaya. Do you remember? I don't remember. Anyway, I had to make the dresses for the deities and for the opening. So I think many ladies they know that story. So I wanted to meditate and do it as much as I could, like the dresses they wear in Krishna Loka. But I have no really information. So I remember that there was one book called Hare Bhakti Vilas, but at that time we don't allow ourselves to read any books which was not writing by Srila Prabhupada. But I heard of that, and I thought that there must be many secrets there, and there must be details how the dresses are made. I was addressed in Krishna Loka for good. So I found the Hare Bhakti Vilas, and I was thinking I am not allowed to read it. It's too elevated for me. So I went to Bagaji, my great friend and protector, and I said, Bagaji, I want to have nice information about Krishna Loka. I am not allowed to read Bhakti Hare Vilas, so please read it to me. So he read it to me, and I found so many nice things about the parrots, the Meena bird. They say Krishna, Krishna. And then it came that idea that I saw Mukhud, and in Vrindavan they used to do pleated dresses with ribbons, very much. It was Lalit Prashad. I'm sure Yamuna speak of him in her book. I had no time to read all the book before to come. So Lalit Prashad was very famous. He was like the haute couture of Vrindavan, like in Paris, haute couture. So, and I wanted to do something else coming from this book. So then I saw, I'm going to have embroiders people make this like these dresses now. So it was the first time. And it was very funny because, so I asked Bagaji to have someone who saw in his house, Ganpat he was called, and he was very, what would you say, hot temper like that, and Brahmanical. He used only to sew for the deities, and his father also, and Bangebari, and his son, and his grandson today, if you ask to do something, he said no, only for Krishna. So he was, okay, he managed. So he was starting to cut and sew. And then I said to Bagaji that, like the Mukud, I want to make dresses with the parrots who say Radhe Radhe, the Meena who say Krishna Krishna, or inverse, I can't remember now. And so many nice things. So he said, yes, but it's only Muslim who do this work. So I said, Bagaji, no problem. So you have the Muslim to come in your house and do the work. So he said, I cannot do that. I will be very blamed and all that. So I persisted. So he said, yes. And I remember it was Ganpat, the tailor, Ganpat. He was sewing, and he was really like a Brahmana. He was from a Brahmana family. And then the door opened, and this Muslim Brijbasi, they start to come here, and he start to scream. And he got up on his machine to sew, like this. And he got into a big problem, you know. But we pacify everyone, and all the dresses was made there, and it was 4 sets. Then I went to Srila Prabhupada, and because he had asked me to do this, I remember I put all the clothes in a bundle. How do you say bundle? No, with cloth you go like this. Bundle. And so I went to him. I opened and the bundle, and I showed it to him one by one. He was looking and said, "It's very beautiful, Kishori. All of this you have made." And I was telling him about the Hari Bhaktivilas. Prabhupada, I did not read it. I promise you. Bagaji read it to me. So he said nothing. So then he said, "Kishori, all those dresses have been made in Vaikunta." So I was very, very happy. Then I went to see um, Jaya Tirtha. He was the priest for the ceremony. He was the chef pujari. So I went showed one dress with many different layers of colors. It's the one you see on the temple entrance with the yellow backdrop with big sequins. So I was totally Prabhupada had appreciated, he liked it. Prabhupada said it was made in Vaikunta. So I don't question myself at that time. He said that, so it was made there. I don't know how. So I said to Jatirtha, "Just see, these are all the dresses that you will have to put." And with Srila Prabhupada, we spoke, and this dress have to be put for the Abhishek. No, for the, how do you say? Installation. Excuse my English. So Jayatirtha, he looked at me, he looked at the dress, and he said, this is good, this is kitsch, like this. And I did not understand the word kitsch at that time, but I saw it's not nice. It's bizarre, you know. I said, "But Srila Prabhupada liked it very much. He broke my heart, you know. And Prabhupada too, because Prabhupada liked it." And then he said, "Who is the chef pujari here, you or me?" So it's goody. I didn't know what it means really. So I left. And you know, Surabi, I made many cupboards under the altars in rooms to put all the jewelry, all the mukus, and we had everything. But I thought, I am not going to do it alone. To arrange everything is so nice. I wanted so much to do it. I am going to wait that devotees come for the installation, and then we will do it together. I was thinking like this, because I know the gopis, they are all doing together for Krishna. He will be pleased like this. So the next morning, I come, and I won't say her name because she's not here. If she was here, I would say her name. And it's all mercy around Srila Prabhupada. Even if someone do something not nice to you or this or that, it's all around Srila Prabhupada, in the family of Krishna. Everything is okay. So the devotees, American devotees, they was already in those rooms. And the door was closed. So I knocked at the door, and she opened the door like this. She said, "What do you want, Prabhu?" I said, "I want to show you where are all the things, and so we can put them in order and shoes like that." she said, Prabhu, we don't need your help. You can go home. So the door was locked at me. And I had worked for more than 1 year on these things, you know. So so the dress was not like it, and I could not participate to do the service. Oof. So I become hurt, and I run. They told me to go to my home. So I went there and I start to cry, you know, and like that. Then Shirabi knocked at the door. And I remember I had put my cupboard on the door. I don't want anybody come to get me. And I was saying with Krishna Balaram, when you do like this, what is this? And, you know, drama. So he come and he said, open, open. I said, no. And I tell my story. He said, stop with your little story. You don't know about me. So I pushed the cupboard, I opened, and then I saw him rushing in the room, and he was packing. I said, what are you doing? He said, yeah, you are complaining about this and that, you know. But me, I have to go to Bombay. Prabhupada said you have to start immediately to design the temple in Bombay. So neither him or me could relish, and we was, you know, like that, especially me. So then later he pushed me out the room and he said, you go to the ceremony. So I came in the temple room and I put my hand on where Krishna Balaram is, like this, and I put my black eyes more black and fixing Srila Prabhupada like this, you know, showing him that I am not happy. What's happening? And suddenly, Srila Prabhupada, he deeply looked in my eyes from far. But I promise you, his eyes became so big, like open, like it was like a road where goes all the, something where you go very fast, like this. Open, big windows open of, I don't know. And Prabhupada, he said, dance. And he went like this. So I started to dance like this. So then in the meantime, I will tell you a little story with Hare. Sorry, Prabhu. He's here? He's here, Hare? Sorry? Is Hare Sorry here? Okay. Qu'est-ce qu'il dit? Okay. Okay. So we had to close Srila Prabhupada's door very carefully because we don't want the, I don't know what to say, the mosquito to visit him, you know? It was malaria. Like that. So, one time I came in, then Hare Sorry come, and he started to shout at me. And I remember to have carefully closed the door. Somehow, sir, it was little open. I made a mistake. But I really was careful, you know. So he came between the darshan room and the other space, you know, where Prabhupada goes to his room, and he's like that. So we was there, and he started to shout at me so loud. I was like that, like that. Then suddenly, I felt from the back a strong hand pulling me like this, pulling very hard. Then it was Srila Prabhupada. He pulled me, he went in the front of me, and he started to speak to Hare Sorry. He defended me, just in front of me, put me behind him. He said, you don't speak to her like this. You don't shout at her. And he went on like this. Oh, and I was feeling, wow, thank you, Harry, sorry. His was off. Prabhupada touched me. Okay. Um, Srila Prabhupada with all the children, like she was saying. So gentle. So he loved children. It just was like this. We don't think about it. He just love children. And when I was going to cook, he was saying back to Kishori, you have to make chapatis for me. So she was cooking out the kitchen of Srila Prabhupada. He used to say, she's such a great devotee. She will be great as Mirabai. And then to sannyasis, we will arrive. He said, you see this little girl? She's such a great bhakta. When you come to Vrindavan, you have to pay obeisances to her. And sometime, Tajas was telling me, that's something I was not there. But he said, for a long time, he was there, and Bhakti Shori was coming to Srila Prabhupada, and she was sitting on him, taking him like this, and looking at him like a little cat who wants something. And Srila Prabhupada knew what she wanted, so he was patting her in the head and like this. And so Srila Prabhupada, it was just pure love. He had to do all this, what we have to do, all that. That was also pure love. At some time, I forgot that he was the spiritual master, strong on his Vyasasan preaching. So much love, so much love. Okay, I am going to tell you a little thing, very, very intimate, but it's nice that is not. I don't want to make a show of myself. I just want you to release your dear spiritual master that you love certainly more than me. So, anything where he told me you have to share everything. He told me you have to teach everyone how to cook. I said, even men, Srila Prabhupada. He said, everyone. And you have to share everything I gave you. I saw he wrote it on his Prabhupada Lilamrita. So, one time, well, I have to tell you something that all my life I was looking for love. Because from the beginning of birth, all that, so many things. And so I was just a love girl, which I misuse, of course. But looking, only for that. Not for money, not for this, deep, I was trying. And I get always cheated, actually. So, Srila Prabhupada, definitely he knows what we need, because I love to hear my God brothers and God sisters, because they always say that also, that Srila Prabhupada responds to their need. So many times he responds, and that time, it's incredible. I don't know if we can say mystical. So I had given Srila Prabhupada's plate, and he started to eat. And I was staying there, little, and I was ready to move toward this door, to go to the garden. Then suddenly, I cannot move, because, the words we say for these things I'm going to tell you, there is no words for it, but we have to, if we want to talk about it, we have to find some words. So what came to me to say is that suddenly a wave come out of him. He was not talking. He was eating. And a wave came and rolled over me like this. And it was love. Something I never felt in my whole life. I love very much my mother, my father, my this, my children, but not like this. But he preached to me while eating and without speaking. So when I was rolled in that love, and my body was like fizzy, something different and warm, I heard, nobody love you in this world. Not even your father or your mother. But when he said, not even your father and my mother, I felt my mother and father elevated. It was an incredible thing happening. Because if somebody said to you, not your father and mother love you, no one love you in this world, it's, oh no, I can't.
Haribo, she has an eye problem. You must switch off the light. Thank you.
Sorry. So, you understand, so it was coming from him, from Krishna Loka, some love like this. And another time I had another experience which is even more, so I don't know if you want to hear? Yeah? Okay. I can't speak long and I want to say a story with Mahari. Yeah, I will say that. But because normally the story I'm going to tell you is going with two stories before where I lied to Srila Prabhupada. I lied because he was asking me to do something. He asked me if I know how to do it. I said yes, I didn't know one time. So I saw I don't tell the whole story, I will have no time. But I thought I am going to learn it in the market tomorrow. It was some cooking. Because Srila Prabhupada told me everything is rotten in the market, but you go to the market and watch them when they make sweets. This is the best way to learn. So he was asking me to do something, then I thought, okay, I'm going to learn tomorrow, but he catch me right on the spot. He told me, you do it for my breakfast, so I had no time. So I managed to do it, and it was not nice. It was Vadas. He said, Kishori, never give me Vadas anymore. Because Vadas, and he showed with his beautiful hands like this. I always remember his hands. And he said, because Vadas are light as a cloud. They are not hard like a rock. But still, the next day I managed, I go to the market, everything. I make nice Vada. And also he told me, don't give it to me anymore. I gave him, and he said it was very nice. A second time happened again with something else. And I said, yes, I know to do it. I lied to him. Yes, I have the machine. I lied to him. And it was almost 10 o'clock at night with Bagaji. And he said, okay, show me the machine. And I had no machine. And so it's a long story. I will have no time. The story? Yeah. Okay, it was at night. At night, I was very, very lucky. Every night, I had darshan with Bagaji and Srila Prabhupada. And actually, one night, Bagaji was asking Srila Prabhupada, which we would never dare to ask, being afraid that he makes Prabhupada go quicker. But Bagaji said, Srila Prabhupada, who is going to take care of everything when you will be gone? So, Srila Prabhupada said, Bagaji, at night, there is so many stars in the sky. But when the moon is coming, is rising, everyone can see the moon. So in the same way, when that moon will be rising, everyone will see that moon. All right. So another time, we were sitting there. I had given the milk to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada looked at me. He was talking with Bagaji. We were sitting. And Srila Prabhupada told me, do you know how to make namkins? Everybody knows namkins, I think. If somebody don't know, they can. And I didn't know at all. So I had a vision of it, that's all. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, I know how to make it very nicely. So why I lie? Because I didn't want to get one chance that if I say no, maybe Srila Prabhupada say, okay, doesn't matter, then I won't do that marvelous service. Prabhupada said that if you love someone, you think of that person day and night. So that's what was happening in that house. I was thinking day and night about him, and I would not miss anything. I was just dreaming for a glance, for anything of him. Yeah, it was very simple. So, and I thought very quickly, okay, all those already catch me one time. I thought, no, it's very late now. So tomorrow I go and I learn how to make it. So I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada go on speaking with Bagaji very sweetly, nicely, very nice evening darshan. Then Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he said, Kishore, do you have a machine to make those namkeen? Oh yes, Srila Prabhupada, I have the machine. But I didn't know how is the machine to make namkeen. I never saw one and I don't have it. So Srila Prabhupada continued to speak a little bit with Bagaji. Then he turned to me. He said, Kishore, go and get that machine and show it to me. Ah, you cannot imagine. No, you cannot imagine. I stand up, my mouth open, and I had no time I had to have that machine. So I don't say, Prabhupada, I don't have it, no. Up to the end I want. So I rush out of his room, and suddenly I appear like my spiritual master. Many times we forget because of the service, those who have been like this and know. So I said, my spiritual master, I'm lying, I have no machine. So I rush into that kitchen, which was an open kitchen with a firewood and piles of big pots and all that. And I start to run around that fire, searching for the machine which doesn't exist. But I had to bring something. So I am a cook, and in a corner I see holes, those slotted spoon that you get, he told me now time. Yeah, making puri. So I see some holes. So I rushed to there, and everything was going so fast. I thought it must be a dough, a kind of dough. If I push it through that, okay, he can believe it is my machine. So I pushed the big pots. It was huge pots on beaten iron, heavy. And I thought it was a slotted spoon, like this, But it was one like this for many people. And when I take it out, it was very heavy, actually. It was le manche. Comment on dit le manche? you know, this, and all, long, like this. So I take it, it was so heavy, and I put it on my shoulder, and I went, oh, like this. And I managed to run back to Srila Prabhupada's room. And I arrived in the room like this with that big thing on my shoulder. So Srila Prabhupada, his eyes became very big. and Bagaji, I could see he became nervous because when he was nervous, he was going like this. So Srila Prabhupada said, is this your machine to make the namkins, Kishore? Yes, Srila Prabhupada. So I put the thing down and I sit down very peacefully. So he was talking to Bagaji. Then he turned to me. He said, all right, you sure you can mend the napkins with your machine? And Bagaji was going like this. Oh yes, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, go and make it. So I am standing there. And the biggest problem now, I never made it. I don't know how to make it. I don't know which kind of flour, which kind of spices, if the dough is wet or not, like that. And immediately, please forgive me, but immediately it came like this. I was trapped, you know. So I thought, I have to trick him. It came. I must trick him. He have to give me the recipe without knowing. So I came very sweetly to him. I put a big smile on my face. I speak so sweetly. Dear Srila Prabhupada, how do you like these napkins the best? Do you like them with maida, is white flour? Maybe with besan, chickpea flour, srita or hatha, chapati flour. Prabhupada looked at me. He was talking with Bagaji, so he was look at me. He said, with besan. So I had, I have one. Srila Prabhupada, please tell me, will you like it better with ajwan or cumin or ajwan? Srila Prabhupada, maybe you would like some haldi in it, some turmeric. Srila Prabhupada said. And maybe you would like them more thin, more big. So in that way, Srila Prabhupada gave me all the recipe without knowing, which I still believe today. I mean, some person tell me another way that he knew, but I like to stay like this, like a small child, you know, hear something and he like to have it forever. So it was too nice like this, ultimately. So then I went and I managed. I came back, I give him, and he said, it's very nice, thank you, like this. I would really like to tell a story with Smarari, because this is a story, I had very many stories like I told you, like this, many. But this one is one who is really teaching, and is one of the reasons why I can be here today. Because all what Prabhupada told me or did or like that, because I've never been advanced and I will never be advanced. By the grace of Prabhupada, because I love him, I am here and he will take care of me, I'm more and more determined. But this, everything I had with him, every word, every instruction, I could say it's like, I never did that, but like, you know, people go on the mountain and they have things to hold on like this. Yeah, hooks they put. So all is like this for me. Whenever I'm in trouble, and unfortunately I'm always in trouble, so this, what Prabhupada said, is there. So I can not fall, apart and like that. To hold on. How strong, how important is the spiritual master is incredible. Especially more when you are not advanced. So then, okay. Uh, One time, I don't know if you remember, He was cooking for a festival, big. And me, I was cooking for the deities, big also. So I asked him for some potatoes. He didn't want to give it to me. Sometimes he's like this. So we go like this. Finally, I get my potatoes. Then, I don't remember if it was Dhananjaya. I don't remember. Anyway, I pass in front of Srila Prabhupada's house, and I don't remember. I have a feeling it was Dhananjaya, but maybe not. So, if it is, let's say it's Dhananjaya, he told me, oh, Kishori, Srila Prabhupada, he was asking about Smarahari, because whatever was in Vrindavan doing, Prabhupada was in it. He was supervising everything, practically, always. So he wanted certainly to see Smarahari about the cooking, how is going on and all that. And Dhananjaya said, you know what happened? Someone said, I don't remember who it was, or maybe the opposite. Doesn't matter. That's not the deep thing. So he said that person told Srila Prabhupada, oh, Smarahari is gone. Kishori kicked him out of the temple. I said, what? I never did that. I felt horrified. I can never see Srila Prabhupada again. And what did he say after? Oh, Prabhupada said, what? Kishori kicks Smarahari out? A brahmachari? A woman? I felt like dead. So I ran to Bagaji house because he was very much protecting me. He was very attached. One time he was with me in Srila Prabhupada's room, and he said, Srila Prabhupada, what can I do? I'm so attached to this Kishori. Prabhupada smiled. He said, you can do nothing. Just tolerate. It's coming from past life. Like this. So he was very much protecting. And so I go to him immediately. They've been lying to Srila Prabhupada. They say I kicked Smarahari, out, and I told him everything. I said, this is finished. My spiritual life is finished. I can never be in the front of Srila Prabhupada. So I rushed in a room in the back of his house. I went into the bed, put a big blanket on my face. So Bagaji became totally like a father, He became totally agitated. Put his little shawl on his head, take his cane. I am going, Kishori. I'm going to see Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to tell him that you never did that. Don't worry. So he left. And I was there. And actually, I was not sleeping. I was just waiting to hear the doors for what Prabhupada said. And the door opened, and it was Vrindavan at that time. Brijbasi mood. So I heard, Kishori, oh Kishori. Kishori, oh Kishori. He came like this, and he beat me with his cane. I was under the blanket. Get up. Srila Prabhupada is waiting for you. I was so happy. Then he said to me, I told everything to Srila Prabhupada. Don't worry. Srila Prabhupada said, bring her to me. I make her all right. In 2 minutes, I can never be against Kishori. When Bagaji says that, I felt. So I jump out of the bed and we start to walk, and it's very near. And I was thinking, oh, Srila Prabhupada can never be against me. He said, I know he understands me, and I am going to tell him all this injustice, and the men are very tough on earth, and all these things, you know. And I was thinking, oh, Srila Prabhupada, he's going to pat me on my head, and he's going to say, don't worry, Kishori, I'm with you, don't worry. It was a big teaching that day. So I was getting more and more, enthusiastic like that. Then we came into Srila Prabhupada's room, and Srila Prabhupada was not in the room. So we sat down together. But the time became like a second, became like 1 hour, you know? And I started to feel strange. I started to feel, actually, why I'm here? For a potato story? So, at Prabhupada have so many things to do, and so many disciples, and I'm coming here to, and I started to feel very, but then I would say, no, it's all right. He's going to tell me, poor Kishori, all that. And I look at Babaji, and I become more nervous because he started to go like this. And he was starting to feel nervous also. Srila Prabhupada came in. And when Srila Prabhupada, I noticed, because I saw devotees being chastised, like Tamal or that, and I was just there, because it happened that I was very much there. So Srila Prabhupada will enter, and he will not look at me. He will put his head high and look the other side. And he started to speak with a very loud voice. And he said, still I was hoping that he would consolate me, but I was less sure. So Srila Prabhupada, very loud voice, which I was not used to. He said, what is this? Agreement, disagreement. What does it mean? I was like this. I could not even swallow. So Bagaji was like this, and he was going, yeah. You know? Then Srila Prabhupada went to a simple little woman who was sweeping the floor and cooking, you know. But he took all this time. So he sit down and he started to tell the prayer of Trinada Sunicino to me. He said, Srila Prabhupada looked at me, and I felt he was anxious for me. He said, Kishori, you have to learn how to become tolerant. Otherwise, you will never make it in spiritual life. And Srila Prabhupada, I felt pain, you know, because he bent down completely. He was sitting like me, but I want to show how he did. And he bent down like this. He said, look. And he went like this. Very far like this. Then he stayed. Then he sit down. He said, you have to go like this. Otherwise, you will never make it. So then he said the prayer. He said, my spiritual master used to wear this prayer like a garland around his neck. Around his neck. Then I was very attached to Srila Prabhupada and very close to him, and I get a lot of attention. And I was very stupid, very ignorant. I just love him, that's all. And I felt he loved me. So he looked at Bagaji and he said, Bagaji, you have to preach to her. And I totally felt bad. I thought, oh no, I didn't want anyone else than Srila Prabhupada to take care of me. No, that's personal. But I felt it like this. Because now I don't feel that way. But like that. Just to show you how ignorant I was of spiritual life. And I'm going to show you more now. So I ran out, and there was Malati and Gunamai. And they had come. And me, I was always dreaming about going out to distribute books. While I was cooking for Srila Prabhupada, I was dreaming of these devotees and was thinking, Lord Chaitanya, he never will take me to do books. I'm too stupid and all that. But actually, when the girls from Sankirtan was coming, they was the same. You know, it was nice exchange on those times. Most of devotees, we really love and appreciate each other. And if we envy a devotee, it was because, wow, he's so... Well, like when Balagopala came to Amsterdam, I was, oh, she come from the spiritual world, and I come from hell. And I was so admirative, you know. So I went to Malati in Gunamai, and they were saying, what Prabhupada told you, what Prabhupada... So I started to say. Then I said, Gunamai, she was an artist. Gunamai, you go immediately to the market. You get some ink and some needles. She said, why? Just do it, please, just do it. I tell you. I tell you the rest of the story where Prabhupada said when you come back. So she come back. Then I tell her about the garland around the neck with the prayer. I say, so Gunamai now, you see, I still have it here.
Tattoo. Say tattoo.
So Gunamai, I never had a tattoo. I could even think of it. It was very vulgar at that time. I would have come to my home with a tattoo. My father would have killed me. So it was not in fashion, tattoo. So I said, what we're going to do is that you tattoo the prayer. Because Prabhupada said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj wear this prayer like a garland around his neck. So, and you will tattoo also the tilak. We never know what's going to happen to us. Maybe one time we forget or we die, then Krishna will see, you know. Okay, so she tattooed me. It was painful with a needle from the Lord Bazaar, no disinfectant, nothing. You know. Then Malati wanted, then Palika wanted. So we stay up 1 o'clock, almost 2 o'clock in the morning, no time to sleep, and I had to cook for Srila Prabhupada, the breakfast and the meal. So I decided that I would show him. But I didn't see myself. It was horrible because, you know, it was very hot. So he had become like red and swollen and little yellow also. Horrible.
Some blood.
Yeah, some blood. So I give the breakfast to Srila Prabhupada. Then I step back, 2, 3 steps. I take my breath like this and I say, Srila Prabhupada, look. You told me you have to be young and ignorant, you know, to be bold like this. Normally I was not, but this. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, look. So Prabhupada looked like this, and he go back to it. You tell me that your spiritual master was wearing this prayer around his neck like a garland. So me too. And Palika and Malati also. So Srila Prabhupada continued to eat, and I was like this. And then he just went, like that. And I started to feel so stupid. I went back, like this. So this is, okay, the third story about lying to Srila Prabhupada. Finish. Okay.
What time do you want to finish? 6:30 exactly? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Harbon, 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 Harbon. Harbon. This working? Is that one working? Give me that one. Give it. Give it to me. None of these work? Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I don't want the mic stand. I said you don't want the mic. No. Haribol. Omagyan Tamarandasya Ganan Ganashalakya Chakshusun Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. Vanchakalpa Tirubhyascha Kripa Sindhabayevacha Patit Pavan Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebho Namo Namaha. I would like to thank the organizers of this festival. It's been a wonderful festival put on at great expense, especially since so many of the older devotees were flown in. Were given rooms, and of course everyone was given very nice prasad for the last 5 days. I would like to thank you all very, very much. I can honestly say, with my hand on my heart, I can honestly say with my hand on my heart that the temple, the deities, the property has never, in my opinion, been so well cared for at any time in the last 40 years. What is happening at the Krishna Balaram temple now is certainly approaching excellence. Thank you very, very much. The older devotees are remembering recollections of Srila Prabhupada. Her Grace Deva Shakti has painstakingly recorded devotees' memories over the last 10, 15 years, 20 years, and she has transcribed, edited, collected, collated, and printed these memories in a volume called Memories of Vrindavan. This has just been released just a few days ago. It's available in the Matchless Gifts gift shop, bookshop, which Deva Shakti takes care of. These memories are wonderful memories of people who were here at that time, their understandings, their realizations, their memories, their recollections of Srila Prabhupada and of the different occurrences during that period. When we got the land, up till we'd built the temple, right up until the temple was built, was opened, and today is the 40th anniversary. All this happened 40 years ago. So many, many devotees throughout the years have given their memories. All of these memories are available in a bound volume, beautiful book with hundreds of devotees giving their different memories. And I urge all of you to at least look at the book, peruse the book. If not, take it home with you and have it as something that's in your bookshelf. The reason we are here and the reason the book got printed is that Srila Prabhupada was just such an amazing person. All of us who contacted Prabhupada, who were in contact with Srila Prabhupada, all of us who took to a deep understanding of what he was doing, of what he was trying to achieve, felt such a loving reciprocation by entering into service in Srila Prabhupada's mission, that we will be situated here forevermore at his loving lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada taught us everything. He taught us each aspect of culture, each aspect of spiritual understanding. We were children. We were illiterate, spiritually illiterate. We were children, illiterate, with no understanding of Vaishnava concepts until Srila Prabhupada painstakingly taught these by his lectures, by his talks, and especially by his books. On one walk here in Vrindavan, it was all fields in those days. There was nothing here, just fields, empty fields. They were growing different things. I remember at one point we passed a field. Prabhupada said, "What is this?" It was mustard seed. They were growing mustard seed crop in it. So it was all just crops and fields that were growing all the way to the Delhi road. So we were walking along, and Srila Prabhupada, we were approaching an ashram. It was a small ashram in which actual, bona fide, pakka, Mayavadi sannyasis were allowed to stay for 3 days. So there were 2 sannyasis, not these vanaprastha, sadhu types that we have, of which they think there's about 50 million in India, but actual pakka initiated Mayavad sannyasis. So as they approached, there was 2 gentlemen coming, and they stopped about 10 feet from Prabhupada. In unison, they bowed their heads, and they said to Srila Prabhupada, "Namo Narayan." Srila Prabhupada replied, "Hare Krishna." And they passed. Prabhupada walked about another 10 or 15 feet, and he stopped. He banged his cane on the ground. He banged his cane on the ground, and he said to his disciples, there were 8 of us, he said, "Why did you not offer respects to these men?" One of the sannyasis says, "Prabhupada," they were Mayavadis. Prabhupada banged his cane again for emphasis. And he said, "They are sannyasi, you must respect the order of sannyas." So every single aspect of the culture, Srila Prabhupada has shown us, he has taught us, all towards making us understand our divine, eternal relationship with Krishna. There are many, many stories, many, many recollections. Each day, Srila Prabhupada taught us something new. Sometimes he taught several things in the same day. Those of us who stayed here for 10 years, for 12 years, for 15 years, those of us who were in Vrindavan during the entire time until Srila Prabhupada passed away, there's thousands and thousands of different recollections which we could submit for people to understand something according to our memory, according to our recollection, according to our understanding. So many things there is to say. But one thing I would like to, we just have a few minutes left. Kishori is such a wonderful storyteller. But there's just something that really struck in my mind. Gananavar was there also when Prabhupada said this. He was on the Vyasasan here in Vrindavan. And he was trying to make us understand the concept that everything is conscious in the spiritual world. So he said, just like when Radharani is cooking for Krishna, she will ask the rice, "Are you ready yet?" And the rice will reply, "No, not yet, a few more moments." Prabhupada was just amazing. Unfortunately, he had such a bunch of dull, uncivilized, uncultured, uneducated, illiterate disciples. But slowly and painstakingly, he tolerated us, he taught us. And today, the devotees who are following the gurus, who are following in line from Srila Prabhupada, they are doing such a wonderful job of following the tradition, of cultivating the understanding, to the extent that the Krishna Balaram temple is such an amazing, wonderful temple. It's certainly the jewel in the crown of ISKCON. I want to thank you very, very much for this wonderful festival, for having us, for tolerating us, for facilitating us, and by teaching, by your example, how to perform pure devotional service. I love coming to Vrindavan. I love associating with you. I love learning from you. I take the dust from your feet. Hare Krishna.